ultimately is about.
All right, guys, let's get to Justin here. Justin, cargo ships attacked in the Strait of Hormuz. UK military says this came out about 3 hours ago. So let's get into it. Guys, let's not forget to double tap that screen, like the video, guys. Let's try to get more people in the conversation. Bah, double tapping that screen. Appreciate the support. Actually, let me see here. Whoops.
We have a Fox News alert at this hour. President Trump turning up the pressure on Iran. He is reviewing a new peace proposal from Tehran, but he says the terror regime there hasn't paid big enough of a price for what they have done, not just to the U.S., but indeed to the entire globe. And with that, we say good afternoon and welcome to Fox News Live. I'm Kevin Corke in New York. The president insisting the war will not end without a deal preventing Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon. He suggests their latest proposal is, frankly, insufficient.
If we left right now, it would take them 20 years to rebuild. But we're not leaving right now. We're going to do it so nobody has to go back in 2 years or 5 years. They told me about the concept of the deal. They're going to give me the exact wording.
The key pressure point, of course, remains the Strait of Hormuz, where the U.S. continues to enforce a blockade on Iranian ships. CENTCOM just confirming that as of today, 49 commercial vessels have been redirected. Correspondent Brian Yennis, live in Tel Aviv with the...
Oh, and shout out to my man, Noah Joyner. Man, I still don't see it for some reason. A lunatic libertarian. I still don't see it, but hold on here. I'll refresh in a minute. Shout out to my man Noah. He says quantum computer is still out. Yeah, still out there, but it's still being worked on. Yeah, quantum computing is out. Quantum computing is out, but still being worked on. Yeah, it sure is. I mean, like I said, these drones only getting more and more intelligent. They're able to do more and more things, like ride in on a on a town and take it just off pure drones, which is crazy, by the way. But I mean, that's what we're doing out here. It's only, I wonder how long it's going to take to where we're literally just fighting from, I don't know, our gaming chairs. And it's like literally like Call of Duty, but like kind of real life. And you're just playing the game until the enemy can find where you guys are playing it at and just destroy the entire building with you in it. That's going to be the new warfare.
Very latest. Brian.
Kevin, and just breaking moments ago, the United Kingdom Maritime Operations says that a large cargo ship has been attacked by multiple small boats. That is what that ship is reporting to the UK Maritime Operations. Keep in mind that Iran has attacked at least 4 vessels in the Strait of Hormuz since this, using those fast boats since this war began. Meantime, the White House has not released any details on the latest peace proposal that has been sent back to the United States from Iran. But according to President Trump, it's not looking very optimistic. This is what the president posted on Truth Social. Quote, "I will soon be reviewing the plan that Iran has just sent to us, but can't imagine that it would be acceptable and that they have not yet paid a big enough price for what they have done to humanity and the world over the last 47 years. The president told reporters yesterday that he'd like to eliminate Iran's remaining 15% ballistic missile capacity and left the door open for restarting military strikes in Iran."
In what circumstances would you restart military strikes on targets?
Well, I don't want to say that. I mean, I can't tell that to a reporter. If they misbehave, if they do something bad, but right now, we'll see. But, you know, it's a possibility that could happen, certainly.
Now, according to Iranian state media, Iran's latest 14-point proposal calls for 30 days of talks to end the war and then includes a list of demands calling for a withdrawal of U.S. troops.
So, yeah, 30 days talks to end the war. And let's see here. Demanding U.S. withdrawal of troops. I mean, we'll see how that goes. Lifting of the U.S. blockade. Trump doesn't want to do that unless we talk about their nuclear enrichment program. And let's see here. I mean, you can read this study if you like. Oh, hold on. I'm going to check that one out. But, okay, he said lifting U.S. naval blockade. No, that's not going to happen. Trump wants the uranium. Lift sanctions. Last release frozen assets. Trump doesn't want to repeat what Obama did. So I really don't know about that. End of Israel/Hezbollah conflict. I don't know if the Zionist regime or the Zionist that controls our government is going to allow that, but maybe so. And new governing rules of the Strait of Hormuz, aka we're just gonna have to get down with these guys running the Strait of Hormuz, even though that's not how it was in the beginning or before the war. yeah, if Trump accepts this, this would be pretty much a loss. It would be, because you're backing off your troops, you're lifting the sanctions, you're giving them money, you're lifting the blockade, and you're telling Israel to sit their ass down about them trying to annex southern Lebanon, which I'm all in support of. I can't even lie about that one. But the rest of this is very unlikely that Trump is going to accept, or this will be seen as a loss. You know, Trump ain't going to hear that. Oh, man. If Trump could spin it into a win, maybe MAGA will accept it. You know, Trump can spin anything and some of you guys will accept it. But, you know, I'll run along with it. I'll sit there and say y'all crazy, but I'm gonna sit there and be like, you know what? I really don't care. As long as the war's over with, you guys can sit there and spin this into a win if you want to, but whatever. I won't be mad.
Troops, a lifting of the U.S. blockade, lifting sanctions, releasing frozen assets, and an end to the war between Israel and the Iranian-backed militant group Hezbollah in Lebanon. A senior Iranian official tells Reuters that Iran is once again not willing to negotiate its nuclear program with the U.S. until after the war ends, and that Iran wants control of shipping in and out of the Strait of Hormuz under new governing rules like charging tolls. Here is Deputy Speaker of Iran's parliament to President Trump.
He has now raised the issue of a blockade. Be certain that this too will fall. What is certain?
You know, it's okay. Like, all right, Angus. Like, bro, come on, brother. Do you not hear what I'm saying, brother? And you're cool. So I ain't even gonna do you dirty because I actually like you. But dog, the decline of their naval power doesn't mean that we eradicated it. Remember, they said 90% of their navy's been destroyed. But according to our own U.S. intelligence, 60% is still out there. It's still out there, and they're using it to close the Strait of Hormuz. I didn't say that their navy hasn't been taken down at all. I said it's just not to the extreme that our governments or that Trump and Hex have been telling us. That's what I'm saying. So if you're arguing that, oh, you're saying that they never went down in numbers. No, obviously they went down in numbers. We were all watching the videos of them getting blown up. But what I'm saying is that they told you 90% has been taken out, but actually it's really only 40. That's the argument.
Is that we will not step back.
Well, actually, that's not even an argument. That's just the facts.
In the Strait of Hormuz, and it will not return to its pre-war state.
The U.S. blockade of Iranian ports continues choking Iran's economy. CENTCOM says 49 ships have been blocked, totaling at least $6 billion worth of oil that Iran cannot sell.
Their oil infrastructure is starting to creak. It hasn't been maintained, again, because of our decades-long sanctions against them. They are rapidly filling up storage. And as that happens, they're going to have to start shutting in wells, which we think could be in the next week.
You want to know what the problem with that is? That one, we said it was going to happen in 2 days, and it didn't happen. I mean, they're still good. And the reason why is because they're able to sell their oil, one, through the Caspian Sea. If you know geography, north of Iran is a big-ass body of water called the Caspian Sea that they can transport oil to Iran to. Yeah, they can still do that. And then they also got a railway to China that they can also transport oil to as well. So us pretty much saying, like, so what Scott Bessent is saying that we're pretty much trying to make them overfill up on oil. No, that's not working, because they're still able to transport their oil through other means besides the Strait of Hormuz. Like I said, through railways to China that go through Kazakhstan, and of course through the Caspian Sea that's able to help them get it into Russia.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio told our Trey Yinks that it would be, quote, completely unacceptable for Iran to take control of the international waterway of the Strait of Hormuz, as Iran, Kevin, seems to not be making any serious concessions, at least publicly, in this stalemate of negotiations with the U.S. Kevin.
Strong start to the hour. Brian Yennis, thank you so much. We appreciate that.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch.
Do it. Oh, crap. Whoops. Sorry, guys. I guess the thing accidentally went down. Let me go ahead and put it back up there. In the meantime, make sure you guys double tap that screen and like the video, guys. Let's get more people in the conversation. Bah, double tapping that screen. But all right, though, let's get right into it. Sorry about that.
And we begin this Sunday morning with breaking news on the war in Iran and President Trump's economic squeeze on the crippled country, as the brutal regime loses up to $400 million a day from lost oil sales as a result of the U.S.'s ongoing blockade, as Iran resists President Trump's call to give up its pursuit of nuclear weapons. The campaign, labeled Operation Economic Fury, has already disrupted tens of billions in revenue, targeting oil sales and cryptocurrency, according to the Treasury Secretary.
Oh, guys, if you're not already subscribed, make sure to hit the icon above and subscribe to the channel. And also make sure to double tap that screen and like the video, guys. Let's make sure we get those likes up. Appreciate the support.
Scott Bessent, who will join us in moments, as the U.S.'s military campaign pivots toward an economic choke campaign on Iran. The U.S. blockade in the strait is effectively blocking up to 2 million barrels of oil a day in exports. That's up to $13 billion a month, forcing Iran to stockpile oil instead of selling it. But storage tanks are filling up. That's what the president told me about the blockade.
Well, it's been pretty amazing, actually. I thought that was going to happen. They reacted to this even, I think, we've obliterated them. And this almost seems to be more of a reaction than we had before. So we'll see. I mean, look, it only matters the end result. And we're doing very well. We started off with Venezuela. We showed everybody how good. I built the military. I rebuilt and built the military in my first term. I didn't know I was going to be using.
But let's be real, though. You can't compare Venezuela to Iran. I'm thinking everybody around the world sees that. Like, we all see why we can't compare Venezuela to Iran, right? Right. Oh, and Angus, like, bro, hold on now. Yeah, bro, we've been talking about their fast boats and their kamikaze drone boats and all that good stuff. And their smaller vessels is what's remaining of their navy. And that's 60% of their navy is that. So they built their navy around the idea of closing down the Strait of Hormuz through these small vessels and to overload these vessels, the missile defense system, by sending in multiple ships like that are drones. So no, we've been knew that. I've been knew that. That's just 60% of their navy.
It this much, but we have the greatest military in the world, not even a contest. And think of it, they have no Navy, they have no Air Force, everything's been...
Oh, lunatic. And yeah, no, I still haven't got the Venmo. And if you sent it, shoot, let me know and I'll see what's going on. But I have not gotten anything. Just letting you know, just in case it went off your card and, you know, you already paid.
Wiped out. They have no anti-aircraft equipment. They have no radar. They have no leaders. The leaders they have now, it's a new regime, okay? And we find them pretty reasonable, to be honest with you. By comparison, pretty reasonable. It really is a new regime. And I think we're doing very well.
I'm weak. It's a new regime, but they're not listening to a word you're saying. They still got the Strait of Hormuz closed. They still are running off the, I would say, the ideals of the old regime. So what new regime? The Ayatollah is still in power. The IRG still holds power in Iran. What new regime? That's what I'm saying. It sounds so dumb when people want to sit there and say, oh, there's a new regime. It's like, bro, do you guys really think there's a new regime? No, give me your honest opinion. Do you believe Donald Trump when he says there's a new regime with the Strait of Hormuz still being closed? Like, they're still talking about they'll take out energy plants if we strike them. They're still saying that they're willing to go to war with us. Does that sound like a new regime to you? I'm just saying. Or I don't know. Does it sound like a new regime to you when we go there, engage in ceasefire talks, and they leave the table? I mean, come on now.
But it only matters what the result is, and maybe it'll happen fairly soon. Who knows?
Now, the U.S. is escalating the squeeze into a full financial choke, targeting all financial lifelines to Iran, including ships, banks, freezing $344 million in cryptocurrency. Iran's inflation on the cost of everyday items has effectively doubled, while its currency has dramatically depreciated against the U.S. dollar, with it taking 1.8 million rials to equal $1. Joining now in the Sunday Morning Futures exclusive is the 79th U.S. Treasury Secretary.
And that is because of our guy here, Scott Bessent. Yeah, Scott Bessent is known for, destroying currencies and making money doing so, or betting against currencies or shorting them and making money doing so. This is his thing. And he did his thing against the rial and further decimated his value. And this is why protests popped off in early January. Not protests for the regime, but protests because of crazy inflation. These were the peaceful protesters. But then we had to go in there and add guns and Mossad agents. And then this is where things got violent.
Scott Bessent. Mr. Secretary, great to see you this morning. Thanks so much for being here.
Maria, always good to be with you.
Can you give us an update on the economic choke that you have been putting in place in Iran? Are you still looking to apply secondary sanctions or sanctions on Iran or those doing business with Iran?
Yeah, and Maria, just to remind you and your viewers, this began with the order last March from President Trump on max pressure. And 3 weeks ago, the president gave the order to Treasury, myself, to begin economic fury. And the way to think about that, we were running a marathon over the past 12 months, and now we are sprinting towards the finish line. And I can tell you that we are suffocating the regime, and they are not able to pay their soldiers. This is a real economic blockade, and it is in all parts of government.
I mean, here's a problem with that. First off, their soldiers have already said they're willing to work for no pay or half pay because they feel like they're fighting for, well, I don't know, the existence, their overall existence. And yes, they are fighting for their sovereignty and their existence as a country. We are literally trying to destabilize Iran by invoking a regime change, by destroying the economy. So yeah, you think these guys aren't gonna fight without pay? Yeah, they are, because they've already let us know that this is more than just about money to them. They actually feel like they're fighting for the sovereignty of their country, which in some ways they are. And this ain't me just saying that, oh, they're the just ones. No, this is me telling you what they're fighting for from their perspective and what the IRG spokesman has been voicing.
All hands on deck. It is the blockade that our great Navy is doing. No ships are getting through, and we have upped the pressure on anyone trying to remit money into Iran to help the IRGC. And they are a corrupt institution. They've been stealing from the Iranian people for years. They have money offshore. We've tracked that down. We will continue to track that down.
I mean, here's the thing, though. You know what's so crazy? It's the pot calling the kettle black when they said they steal from the Iranian people, because they do. The IRGC does steal from the Iranian people, and they control major industries in Iran. They do. But so do we when we sit there and put sanctions on them and we freeze their assets and then we destroy their dollar. We also steal from the Iranian people doing that as well. So, you know, like I said, it's really the pot calling the kettle black.
And we're going to preserve those assets for the Iranian people.
And here's the thing, though, and the reason why I don't agree with us doing that to them is, one, because the IRGC can now use their propaganda to spin it into, oh, no, it's the Americans the reason why you're suffering due to these sanctions. The Americans, the tax on us is why you're suffering. They can easily spin it into, oh, it's the Americans because of our economic pressure. So it really makes it hard to run this anti-regime propaganda when we're the reason why their economy is failing.
Other side of this conflict.
And I guess it wasn't very smart of Iran to lash out at its Gulf friends. That combined with the pressure from OPEC has the United Arab Emirates leaving OPEC. What's the impact there?
Well, twofold, Maria. As you said, they really miscalculated when they started bombing their Gulf neighbors in a kinetic fashion. And in response, the Gulf neighbors, who I would describe as somewhat permissive in allowing Iranian IRGC money, Iranian regime money into their banking systems, have been very fulsome and come forward and given us the details and allowed us to freeze those assets. So, you know, the IRGC is watching their stolen assets for years, decades, for 47 years, get frozen and go down the drain very quickly. The UAE has decided that OPEC is not for them. Most monopolies eventually collapse under their own weight. And Maria, we could talk about it now or in a minute, but this gives me a lot of optimism that oil prices on the other side of this conflict are going to be much lower than they were going in or at the beginning of the year or at any point in 2020, 2025.
Yeah. So in other words, more oil on the market is simple.
Yeah. I mean, that is the good thing about, you know, UAE leaving OPEC, is because they're leaving OPEC so they can produce more oil, because, you know, OPEC limits the amount of oil because they control the oil supply, therefore they control pricing. So what the UAE wants to do is try to, as one, make more oil, and then also here's the kicker, though, what Scott Bessent's not going to tell you, though, they want to dabble in other currencies when it comes to selling their oil. And that's damn near like de-dollarization. It's like, so they used to sell all of their oil in US dollars. Now they're saying that we not only do one out of APEC, but we want to be able to sell our oil in different currencies as well. Yeah, and that's the concerning part of it. But it does help with the supply of oil that, well, the world desperately needs right now. And if this war was to end while they're still adding on that supply of oil, it could help bring down gas prices a lot sooner than what's been projected by the energy secretary, which would be like 4 to 6 months if this war was to end today. I don't know, probably 6 months and a half now.
Supply and demand, you're thinking that this is going to help the case on oil prices. You've got the UAE no longer needing to follow quotas from OPEC. They'll put more oil on the market, and that adds to the oil on the market to send prices. You think oil prices will be lower before the midterm elections?
I think oil prices, we can see in the futures market that oil prices are already lower 3 months, 6 months, 9 months out. But again, Maria, there are hundreds of oil tankers waiting in the Gulf to come out. The U.S. is only blockading Iranian ships, and we will see. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see more of those ships coming out. The Iranians, it reminds me that they're kind of like the Keystone Cops here. It reminds me of Baghdad Bob back during the Iraqi war. You had the guy kind of spouting nonsense while the tanks were driving around behind him, and the Iranians are like,
Angus, that what you're saying, low-key doesn't matter. That and the reason why it doesn't matter is because the capitation strikes, bro. There's a new Ayatollah. And actually, all of the leadership that we took out were moderates. Now we got a bunch of hardliners. So those decapitation strikes didn't really work out for us. And apparently, before Khomeini died, he was able to set up a 7 layers of succession, and to keep it going down from there. So the decapitation strikes don't mean anything when they've already set up multiple lines of succession that we haven't even worked all the way through yet. So that's some things like you're citing useless information that has not given us any real results in this war. Like, oh yeah, we decapitated their leadership, but we're still dealing with the same leadership. And they still got the Strait of Hormuz closed. All of their missiles have not been destroyed. Their Navy is closing down the Strait of Hormuz. So what does that do for us? What does you stating that? Like, please tell me, what does you stating that help us with? Nothing? Okay, yeah, I thought so.
They're not tolling the strait. We think that they've gotten less than 1.3 million in tolls, which is a pittance on their previous daily oil revenues.
But we blew them up.
Their oil infrastructure is starting to creak.
But Angus, you playing into my point though. That means you kind of see where what you're saying was a bad idea. Well, we decapitated the leadership. Well, yeah, you mean the leadership that were moderates that was actually working with us? We destroyed those for the hardliners that you say are a bunch of idiots who don't really care about doing, any type of diplomacy with us. Like, you see where that's a bad idea?
Hasn't been maintained again because of our decades-long sanctions against them. They are rapidly filling up storage, and as that happens, they're going to have to start shutting in wells, which we think
no, Angus, no, you're citing Western propaganda. That's what you're citing. You're not citing what's actually going on inside of Iran. I've played multiple documentaries from inside of Iran. I've talked to people that live in Iran, and what you're saying, trust me, dog, you're just spewing Western propaganda to make yourself feel good about this war in Iran, and you're still illusioned by the fact that, oh, we're in there for the Iranian people. Bro, Trump threatened your entire civilization. That should have been out your mind the day that happened. The day he posted that tweet, that idea should have been out your mind.
In the next week.
Wow. Secretary, let me move on to the U.S. economy because these numbers are extraordinary. When you look at what's going on with the backdrop in the U.S., you would think $100 oil would scare people. And in fact, stock market is up in the double digits. You've got the economy continue.
Do you see how, and this is the problem, though, and this is the problem. Americans are concerned about affordability, but they want to talk to you about how these multi-billion companies or multi-billion dollar companies are making money. Like, we honestly care about it. I'm sorry, but it's great that, these companies are making money and all that good stuff, but that's not helping your average American out with affordability. And you see how they're skating around that because they no longer have a reasonable argument for why they're not attacking it. because they know this war is destroying Americans. Well, it's actually hurting Americans when it comes to affordability. It's destroying our affordability and what we can do with our dollar. And instead of actually directing that, they're going like, well, let's talk about the billionaires. Let's talk about Wall Street and how well they're doing. Let's not worry about your average American. Let's focus on the rich people. Like, yo, you see how you're going to lose people with this type of rhetoric? And it's crazy how people on the right don't see it. Y'all are turning into the elitists. Honestly, both sides are pretty much elitist, but when you're this overt about it, when you're willing to sit there and tell the American people, look, F your affordability, look at the Dow, it's over 50,000 guys. Yeah, that's where you lose people. That's where you lose everyday Americans. Not because they're Democrats, not because they want to be leftist or liberal. It's because you guys just sound so out of touch. But all right, let's get back into it.
Continuing to grow. Even Jay Powell, the outgoing chairman of the Federal Reserve, had to admit it this week at his meeting. Here's what he said. Watch this, Secretary.
So it's actually quite resilient, I would say, because it's a positive thing. If I can have that amendment, yeah, the growth is really solid across our economy. Some of that is that consumer spending is hanging in pretty well. The most recent data are good. And some of it is just the apparently insatiable demand for data centers all over the United States. So a lot of business investment going into building data centers, and every reason to think that that continues. So you've got an economy that's growing at 2% or better.
The Secretary, assess the economy for us, and to what do you attribute this resilience?
I think it's a lot of the policies that President Trump put in place in his first term that have continued into the second term. The One Big Beautiful Bill, also known as the Working Families Tax Cut, has been very, very positive. I was out with the president Friday. They down at the villages in Florida.
I'm sorry, but some of y'all are coming up with the worst arguments in the chat. Like, Jesus. Somebody says $1 billion company produces millions of jobs, don't they? Yeah, but those jobs really don't mean nothing to the American people if affordability is getting worse and wages aren't catching up to it, which they're not. From the Biden administration, we was 3,000 down in buying power. Trump gained some of that back, and he lost, and now he's losing some of it due to the fact that inflation didn't increase and gas prices are up. Therefore, energy prices are up across the board. And it's going to go down to food because now there's going to be a fertilizer shortage. So do you know how ignorant you sound of what the average American goes through by saying that? You hear how ignorant you sound, or how honestly you don't really know what's really going on economically. That you know how it's funny that you guys called out the affordability problem under Biden, but it's like it's been erased from your minds under Trump, and we all know that is still an ongoing problem in America. But as soon as this war started, y'all want to act like it's not a problem no more. That is insane. That's insane. And sorry, but prices, wages have not caught up to prices, sadly. But that's what we were betting on with Trump when he was bringing down inflation over, the entire first year of his term. He was on the right track. I will always say that. But now he's going backwards.
And talking to our great seniors about no tax on Social Security, no tax.
Oh, guys, make sure to double tap that screen, like the video, guys. Let's get more people in the conversation by double tapping that screen, and make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already by hitting that icon above. All right, let's keep it going.
Tax on overtime, no tax on tips, deductibility of American-made cars. Maria, 45% of filers during this tax season availed themselves of at least one of those programs. So we had record refunds. And because of the modernization at the IRS, if you filed electronically, we were able to get your refund out in 21 days. So the consumer's very strong. Another aspect of the tax bill is the permanence of full expensing. So companies are coming, whether it's equipment, factory structures, they are able to write that off in a year. So we're seeing a
You see, bro, Angus, see? Like, you're the reason, your line of thinking is going to be the reason why the Republicans lose. Because you sound like a liberal when they said, pick up coding. Bro, don't even know how he sounded like a leftist now. It's so crazy. You're giving the same arguments that the leftists gave us when Biden was a shit show. Same arguments. Oh, my goodness. Oh, pick up trade. And the funny thing is, I'm doing well for myself. So I'm not even talking about myself. I'm talking about the average American. When I look at the economic numbers, the average American is doing terribly. Things are way more unaffordable. Not everybody is able to rent and afford a crib like I can. Not everybody is able to afford a car and be able to afford gasoline like I can. So I'm not even speaking about myself. I'm speaking for your average American that you should be concerned about as well. And if you're not, then don't be mad. And if the Republicans or the conservatives share your mindset, don't be mad when y'all lose the midterms because y'all just saying that y'all don't give a fuck. Oh, and go pick up a trade, just like the Democrats told us to go code. And some of us did that, and that still didn't work out for us. So, I mean, what? You're going to tell us to pick up a trade and they bring in the AI robots? Then what's your excuse, bro?
CapEx boom. The way a CapEx boom works is you have a construction boom that then morphs into factory jobs. So that's very strong. And again, the consumer is very strong. We're in constant touch with the banks and the credit card companies, and they're saying that all quintiles of the distribution group is very strong.
That is wonderful. And of course, we've got Kevin Warsh coming in. We are expecting Kevin Warsh to be confirmed by the full Senate the week of May 11th after they get back from recess. Do you expect Kevin Warsh to be the chairman of the Federal Reserve once Jay Powell's term ends on May 15th? And what is the impact of Jay Powell staying on the board as a governor, in your view?
Well, I'm very optimistic about the Warsh Fed. It's time for a change because, Maria, if we look back, if we think about the Powell Fed, if we think about monetary policy, ethics, and supervision, they weren't great. Monetary policy, we had the worst inflation in 48 years. Ethics, we had five governors or regional bank presidents have to resign for ethical problems. And then we had 3 of the 4 largest bank failures in U.S. history. So I'm looking forward to getting on with the Warsh Fed. It's Chair Powell's decision to stay as a governor if he wants. I think it violates all norms. They would say that one other governor did stay. That was at the request of the president. The president has not requested that Chair Powell stay. I am optimistic that after a period, he may move on. I think that it would be inappropriate to overshadow. I wouldn't call this a shadow chair. I'd call it an overshadow chair. And I hope that Chair Powell will move on over the short term.
Yeah, because he say he's gonna, of course, he's gonna step down as being the chairman, but he's still gonna be on the board of governors on the Federal Reserve. And Trump is like, dog, I don't even want you to be on the board of partners. I just want you gone, bro. Go retire or something. He's like, no, I'm gonna make sure I stay here to make sure things go as planned. And there was like, no, we don't want you around because you're too reactive. You're not proactive. And I don't like Powell because of that either. He waits for bad times to come instead of working out an equation to figure it out before it happens. So he's reactive, not proactive. We need somebody that's proactive. We don't need you to wait for job loss or wait for inflation to hike up. We need you to see it in the future and make the corrections. I don't know, run your graphs, do something, but don't just sit there and wait for the bad times to come. And a lot of people don't like that about Powell. That's why they call him Too Late Powell. It's an accurate name for him.
Sherry, let me get your take on what took place in terms of Spirit Airlines, because I know that the Democrats did not want Spirit to merge with JetBlue.
Angus, are you dumb, bro? The average, that's what I'm saying. Like you're out of touch, bro. You're out of touch. The average American can't even afford to go out to eat anymore. Average Americans, bro, are eating inside because they can't even afford to go out on a date with their wives. Average American can't afford a house, can't afford a card payment. And the average American can't even afford to go beyond their means anymore. Like, bro, you maybe talk about when you were born, but in today's time, today's average American is not doing any of that reckless spending because they can't even afford to. Like, they're too busy trying to catch up with grocery costs and gas costs. Do you hear yourself? This is what I'm saying. You guys are out of touch now.
A year ago, and now we see that Spirit Airlines closed operations. The Treasury was supposed to be doing a deal to save this company. Can you tell us what happened?
Sure, Maria. So this is just more of the mess we inherited from the Biden administration. In September 2022, Elizabeth Warren, who loves to write letters, sent a letter to the Justice Department, to the Transport Department, saying that they should oppose the merger with Spirit Airlines. JetBlue wanted to buy them for $3.8 billion. It would have given them much more resiliency. And she and the Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg is probably the worst transportation secretary in history when he came to the office. They were against the merger. And
man, Spirit Airlines was like the best thing for cheap flights. Very uncomfortable. I never flown on one before because I don't trust planes anymore. But I'll tell you this right now, man. A lot of people were happy about Spirit Airlines. When it first came out, it was like the cheapest options to fly anywhere. And that's why everybody was using Spirit to go damn near across the country. So shout out to Spirit, even though they ceased all operations because it was a failing business.